Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning, Stefan. I thought I'd pause for a second, make sure everything was all on.
That was it wasn't the millennial pause, it's the Generation X and Boomer pause. We're reframing it. That was a Boomer
Uh,
pause for all
all
of you
right.
who are listening or watching.
Well, good morning. How are
Good
you?
morning. I am really well. I'm excited for uh, our unconstrained, unbridled discussion this morning.
Me too, Stefan, because let me just butt right in here because last time, okay, all right, backing up. After our conversation last week, um, I had the craziest dream the next night. So like I woke up Friday from this weirdest dream, but I really you try to think of like, wow, did that mean something? I'm just gonna conclude on my own that yes, it did, and it was a good thing. So it's really weird. So it's really, really weird, a little bit gross. So I'm just gonna go, lead with that. But I want to start with I've had this recurring dream for a very long time in my life. And this, okay, so it's gross, bear with me, but like I'll be at a doctor's office and there's always like a mirror for some reason where you can see yourself while you're waiting. You've waited and you got into your little room where you then wait another 30 minutes for the physician to actually come in. Okay, so I'm in this like waiting room, there's a mirror, and a little worm will poke out of my forehead, like out, just like out. And in the dream, I'm completely like, oh my God, what is that? And I try to grab it, but before I can grab it, it goes back in. And like, it's like Wolverine skin or something, like it just closes. There's no opening anymore. There's no proof or evidence that it was ever there. And sometimes it'll happen 2 or 3 times. And every time I go to catch it or try to pull, grab it and pull it out, this weird little worm, I miss it and it goes back in. Not this time. This time I was able to catch the worm and I started pulling and pulling and pulling. And like it just kept going and going. And this is really gross, right? Okay, and it gets even grosser. So again, I apologize for the grossness, but it's like this giant chunk comes out. Now it's kind of weird. Also, it's dreamland. So like my skull is staying intact, like nothing's happening here, but these big chunks, like chunks that make me go, oh my gosh, am I actually like pulling out pieces of my brain right now? Like what is happening? And I'm like, okay, now should I stop after the second big chunk comes out and I'm still pulling this like worm thing out of my forehead? And like the second time I'm like, oh my gosh, should I stop? Like, am I pulling my brain out here or what? Like, am I gonna hurt? Am I gonna fall on the floor dead in a second? But I decided to just like, I've got this far. I've been trying to get this thing forever. I may as well just keep going. So I keep going. And finally I get to the end of it. And it's like a living, I don't know if it's like a little alien dinosaur sort of creature that's now running around the room. And then the physician comes in and just like, what is this? And I'm like, I don't know, but I explain, I've had this before and I've tried to pull it out, but then anyway, explain the whole thing. And she's like, well, you should be able to think more clearly now. And then I wake up and I just like, that's it. That's this crazy dream
That's
after our last conversation. And I'm thinking like
that's
this,
awesome.
maybe I've dislodged some things. I don't know.
That is
So yeah,
that's fantastic. That's a great dream.
what a
It's not
wild dream.
I don't know. I'm sure lots of people have had wild, trippy
Yeah, right. We do.
dreams, but that one is so clear and
Yeah.
so
And the
straightforward. It's
fact
like you had a brain exorcism or something.
something, and that I had that problem in dreams before was also just very weird, right? Like I mean, this little worm had visited me before, and I could never catch this stupid little worm. But this
Yeah, well,
time,
you finally got the little alien out of there.
Healing has been freed from my brain. Oh my gosh. So weird. But yeah, like, it's like one of those things where sometimes I'm like, wow, what a coincidence. We just had this really amazing conversation. We have these amazing conversations every week. And I don't know, I do feel like little things loosen, little things free
Of,
up and
yeah, of
open. And
course. Yeah. Because we're believing in this process, whatever it is. We don't even, we're not, the thing that I like about it is that we don't have a destination in mind, right? We
right.
don't know what the destination looks like. We just know that the immediate landscape is favoring us, is favoring us, and we can do this.
Yeah.
But I like that we're believing that this is good, right? That's just the fundamental belief. There's a fundamental belief that whatever we do here is good, and that the focus on what we're doing is good. And then so whatever happens, all of these things that happen, now now we don't have to look at your dream as something that's scary or weird or bad. It's something that is it's just another opportunity, right? It's another opportunity, another way to reframe what's happening.
And that's, the theme of last week, I feel like, was reframe, right? And I've been reframe and gratitude. I've been really putting forth the gratitude for November. I think it's always a great opportunity, with being kind of the spirit of giving thanks and family, and the themes, holiday themes that run through the month. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's always never a bad time to express gratitude, but I've been kind of putting that in the forefront of my coffee doodles, and just things, sharing different experiences I've had with how I do gratitude journaling, or different things like that. And it's been interesting to see the feedback from the community on, oh, I never thought of doing it that way. I've never gratitude journaled because it's too much, or too much to take on. And I don't know. Anyway, I think the reframe, even stuff like that, right? I think my post yesterday was about, I had a coaching client who was like, I'm not into the gratitude journal thing. Like, I'm grateful, but the whole gratitude journal is very flowery for me, and it's just not my thing. And, it kind of reminded me that we're all
Maybe they're
different
not so
people.
grateful. Maybe they're not so grateful.
Oh, but maybe it's just finding something that, there's that term, like, meet them where they're at, right? So as a coach, it's kind of like, okay, well, what's something that might work for you? And something that's always worked for me as well is that I do hashtag what's good. And you just ask yourself, what's good today? Name something good. Sometimes people say, how's it going? And then you open the door for, it could be any range of things, opportunity for them to fill that gap with a negative thing. And instead of doing that, if you greet somebody with what's good, hey, what's good today?
Yeah,
You kind of narrow the focus in a positive light. And so that could be one word. It could be, you know what, my arms work today. They go all the way up, they go all the way down, everything rotates. Like, that's good. That's a good thing. It's being, and it is gratitude, but it doesn't feel as like maybe earthy, which some people don't get into. And I am okay with that. You know, we all respond to
sure.
things differently. And
I think the key is that we just focus on what's good, right? That we
Mhm.
focus on, that we put our attention to something that's engaging, curious, moving us forward, brings us joy, whatever that is, just to change the thought pattern, because it's so easy. I have someone I'm working with who is so stuck on worrying about what other people think. And there's no amount of explaining I can tell this person how good they are at certain things that they do. They just don't believe it. And that lack of belief in themselves creates, we've talked about this, creates a conspiracy around them of other people who love them, but also don't believe that he's going to make it through the things that he's working on, right? That it's just because he just keeps showing up with
Mhm.
these circular thoughts of, oh, this person hates me, this person's mad at me, this person's, and I'm like, however much you're thinking about all of this, the rest of the world does not have time to hate you 24/7.
Exactly. You know, that
The rest of the world is too busy, too busy
understanding
doing their own thing.
exactly. Understanding that was one of the biggest things that helped me start moving forward with closing the loop on things. It's that realizing, like, you know, often I was afraid to write or blog because it might not be good enough for who knows what, but like the reality is there's probably like 5 people reading it. It's like us doing this, you know, maybe there's 5 people who listen to the show at this point in time. We'd love for it to be bigger, but we've got to start somewhere. And what's important is that we start, we show up, we keep going. We don't stop.
Well, I mean, we could stop, but this is good for us.
No. No, we could not, Stefan. You are now stuck. No, it's one of those
that
things
just,
though, right? Like
yes.
it's showing up is like, you know, and this is something that I've loved about working with Ken too. It's Ken's a really good finisher, I think. And like in that, I mean, like starting becomes easy. And I got really good at starting. And I think many people are very good. I've got an idea, I want to do a thing, and we go 80%. And it's that last 20% that's going to set you apart from, you know, the population. If you
Yes.
go that last 20%, it might not even be 20, it might even be 10 or 5%, but
Yes.
it's finishing, it's closing the loop on that. That's
Often,
what's going to
yes.
set you apart. And you know, when you're done with that one, move on to the next one. Just keep showing up. And you know, it might be really small. For me, my coffee doodles are one of those things where I fell off my rhythm when I started my new project with the, you know, with new people. And I kind of just I was okay with it because I knew I would make time for it again, not find time, but make time. I would make time because it's important to me, but I knew I needed to set it aside for just long enough to get into a rhythm. Once I got into that rhythm, now for 2 weeks now, I'm back in my groove and I'm showing up. I'm doing you know, it's funny because the coffee doodles seem like such a kind of a stupid little thing, but they're such a big deal for my mind and my well-being and my presence. How I
Yeah.
show up in the day.
Yeah. I would venture that that is one of your gratefulness meditations.
It is my little coffee doodle.
Yep.
One of my favorite things.
Yep. Yeah. I just
Boy.
keep, I can't get that image of the worm coming out of your brain. And I want to ask your brain, like, how does it feel up there?
You know, it's funny because I feel good. I mean, I don't know if you feel like I
Oh, yeah.
feel energy that I haven't felt in quite some time. And you know, so I feel good about that. I feel like definitely something has wiggled free. And even if all it is me telling myself that dream, something wiggled free, whatever, it's working. Right. And so
Of
there's
course.
that. And then there was like part of me that goes, man, I wish it would have helped clear up my sinuses more. But it's like maybe that was the sinus problem I've been having. I have a mad sinus problem, but that's something else. I'll go see a professional about that. But you know
Well,
what? Yeah, it's been
yeah.
it's been really good. And it's funny because I think about it. I've been thinking about it. I don't think about dreams very often after they happen. You know, sometimes I remember them. Sometimes I'll write down little notes about them, but not very often. I'm not like a dream cataloger. I've done that in the past, but you know, where I'm at now, I don't, you know, if I remember them, they were significant enough to remember. And this one is one of those that, like, I told Ken about it and I told Soph and I told Z and I was like, oh my gosh, this dream I had, it was so crazy. I pulled this worm out of my brain and then it was this little monster running around that was actually not, he wasn't mean when he was running around. He was just like running around like Ernie, our dog. I mean, he was just this little creature, you know? But yeah.
Yeah. I had a dream this morning that was really strong. And I tried to remember it a couple of times, and it may come up here as we go, but there's a few things about just it had something to do with awareness and being present, and it was a whole bunch of people being rescued up the side of a mountain. And I woke up. What I remember about the waking up is just the clarity I had. It was extremely clear. And that was, sometime around 6 in the morning. And then I just tried to stay there in that state, right? The kind of half asleep, half awake, and try to keep bringing bits of the dream back. And maybe I'll remember some of it. But it also triggered another thought that I had about time and how time is arbitrary. And I had this discussion with my friend Dr. Dave, who has a couple of PhDs, one of them from Harvard, and so he's a great one to argue with about just about anything deep or tricky, or right, because he's obviously a very well practiced thinker. And we got into this discussion about time, right? Because you and I have been talking about how time is arbitrary.
Yeah.
And what happens when you let go of the linearity of time. And he was arguing from the point of view that there is a legitimate accounting of time. And I'm thinking, well, what if everything in time existed all at once? And he didn't like that idea, right? And so he kept saying, well, no, like there's this moment, and then there's the next moment, and then there's this moment, and then there's the next moment. I go, well, okay, so there's this moment, and then there's a millisecond from now, and then there's this moment, and maybe there's a half millisecond from now. And you can keep slicing these next moments down ad infinitum until all that exists is the moment.
Yeah. It is now.
Right?
There's something that relates to the tapeworm in this somewhere.
Well, okay. Well, maybe, yeah. So then I thought, and then this morning in this kind of very clear state, I thought, well, it's the same kind of thing when you're mathematically, the pi is a number that, right, it's circumference equals pi r squared. It's the easiest way to figure out circumference. And it's based on slicing and dicing a circle over and over and over and over sections of a circle. And ultimately pi is, it's not it's a number that is infinite ultimately, right? You can calculate it to deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And people and computers have done that, and people memorize it to hundreds of digits of pi. But ultimately, it's infinite. And unfortunately, I'm not as clear as I was at 6 a.m, laying there in between these two states in between the state of consciousness. But it's the same concept. If we break up the moment, or if we break up the circle, you keep getting, or pi, you get something that is infinite. It grows bigger and bigger. Like pi is an infinite number.
Yeah.
And so these kind of like, there's some point where our linear thinking is limited. Our linear thinking about time, our linear thinking about past, present, future, and what we have access to and what we can influence. And maybe, again, we can't prove these things, right? Because our tools are based on what we know now. they're, they're limited, the mathematical tools and thinking. But what if we had access to everything? And these are the things that we're pointing at. What if we were infinite or God, or I mean, these are the things that we're pushing the boundaries of when we discuss this. And so the funny thing about that conversation is I felt the moment he started arguing really hard for his point of view, I knew that the point of view was limited.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The moment we start arguing for a point of view means that we are trapped in this kind of linear continuum. I'm right, you're wrong, or my idea is, even though we know that what I know is at the limit of my tools and my education and my habitual ways of thinking, what's outside of that is more. There is more. There's more everywhere. There's more digits to pi. There's an infinite number of next moments that are closer and closer and closer and closer to the moment. And so then what if only, right? What if only this really exists, and the entirety of everything outside of this moment is a complete arbitrary creation.
And I love the what if, what if there's
Yeah.
no, I feel like there's no harm in what if. And, like it's
No.
very, so this kind of goes back to my days as a user experience designer, right? Like, or even just as a visual designer, even before the UX days, it was always, it would create tension within me when we would go meet with a new client and they would say something like, tell us what's wrong. Because it's the easiest thing is to point out what's wrong, to point out the limits, to point out, that's the easiest thing. So any designer can tell you what's wrong, tell you 50 things that are wrong right now based on basic guidelines or what we believe is good. And, there's subjective and objective logic that could be pointed out. But like, what's really challenging is to find what's good. So starting there, right? And what if we try this? What if we let go of what is and just accept that anything could be possible? Then what happens? What happens if we look at that? Ah, man.
Well, Jamie, then we're going to have to look at the budget.
Yeah,
This is,
I love, like, I don't know, I've applied that to my life, that what if and what's good, and what's working. And I've applied that to my life for a very long time. And the focus on that over, I mean, I think it's okay to acknowledge and understand what's not working, what's stopping you, what are your sticking points. I think you need an awareness of those things, but that's not the sole focus. It's like, okay, here they are. Now, how do I break them down and open them up and crack them open and dissolve them? And
well, the only reason for illuminating what's wrong is to illuminate the possibilities for what we want or what potentially could be right.
Yeah.
Right. Like the only reason to call out there's like some stinky sandwich or something in my fridge is to move forward, is to decide that I want my fridge to smell good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to remove that sandwich and I'm going to put some fresh food in the fridge. Right.
So I'm curious of your thoughts on this idea, because we talk a lot about just infinite possibility. And one of my my little notes from the universe that I love to bring up so much, one of them recently mentioned magnetizing into your life like things, emotions, and circumstances that you want, right? Magnetizing in. And it brought up in my mind, I was like, well, Stefan read that thing about like not pushing, not pulling. Magnetizing might be different than pushing or pulling, right? I mean, magnet has that effect, the attract, but there's the
Yeah,
attract.
sure.
But I was curious, like, I don't know that I have a fully formed question here, but just throwing those, some of those thoughts out into the wind here. The idea of magnetizing maybe versus not pushing or pulling, but being. Um,
Well,
does
I think if we talk about broadcasting,
mhm.
right? If we're broadcasting or magnetizing, I mean, if we're using the realm of the electromagnetic spectrum, if we are a radio broadcast tower or if we are a magnet, I guess we it's the difference between radio broadcasts and near field communications. Right, you are I mean, you are, we are, I am broadcasting all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's my thoughts. And I guess in close proximity, it's energy. Like we go to a party and we see somebody, they're animated, they're moving, and we're like, I want to go over and check that person out. I want to hang out with that person. And that is why we use the word magnetism,
Mm-hmm.
right? That
Yeah.
person has magnetism, animal magnetism. Ooh, sexy. Right. It is, I mean, all of those, I think all of those metaphors work. Broadcasting, it's just, and so then people are, what do I want to attract? Where do I want to be? How do I want to feel? All of those are part of magnetizing or broadcasting who we are and what we want to attract. And and focusing on what's good for certain just brings more awareness of what's good. And it also brings the joy in what we have in the moment, right? It opens the door to that. And joy and these higher emotions, those are power. It's wattage, it's radio wattage.
Yeah, I like that.
I
Yeah.
I felt it this morning. I mean, I felt it this morning when at the moment I woke up from that dream, and I'm hoping I can remember it because it was so clear um, when I was there, and it was it has something about awareness or being awake, or at any rate, maybe we'll find it. But the result of that clarity, of that incredible moment of clarity this morning, is this: both I am energized and you are meeting me in this really energized place. And what happens when we're in a group of humans like that, when we're able to have others meet us in that place, and we do that thing, we're able to do that in business and in family relationships. And um, what happens then? That's pretty amazing. But the clarity and the energy, and even the music I was listening to, like last night I was listening to certain types of music that were kind of like, yeah, I'm back. What's the Mark Morrison's Return of the Mac. It's kind of a
Oh,
heartbreak. It's right. It's kind of a heartbreak song.
I'll have to bring that one up. I'm not familiar with that. I've been on an Everly Brothers kick lately.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh,
love those.
old school. Going old
Yeah,
school.
going old school. A lot of Everly Brothers and Roy Orbison. I've been
Oh
feeling
yeah.
feeling the old stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the certainly the music and the musicianship at that time was incredible. right?
Yeah, I
Because
love,
there was no processing. So, and Roy Orbison has such a beautiful voice,
yeah, yeah.
right? I mean, he has a legendary voice.
And just the, yeah, and with Everly Brothers, I love listening to how the guitar is played. Like it feels so like,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know, like they're so into it and it's great. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. But yeah, music is such a big part of my life. Like I'm such a music person. Yeah, I'm such a music person. But I love like I don't know. There's not much I won't listen to. And as I've aged, I feel like I've gotten even more open-minded about musics that maybe I used to be like, no, not for me. There's still stuff that I'm like, not long term, but I appreciate
yeah,
the artistry of it now, more than maybe I used to.
yeah. I'm that way as well, and I love that I have a Apple Music subscription, and over the Spotify, Apple Music, doesn't matter. I've that I can just think of a song and I can have it,
Yeah, it's
right? I
so
can have
funny.
that song, listen to that song, or think of a reference and I go, oh wow, I haven't heard that
Or
person in a long
curate,
time.
yeah,
Like
curate your
I have,
playlist.
yeah, I mean, I have a whole Molly Hatchet, Allman Brothers, Little Feat,
Yeah.
ZZ Top playlist. It's just like,
Nice.
this is road trip music right here.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I love
I,
stuff like that.
I have but this is, I mean, we're not talking, this isn't something special or unique. There are millions and millions and millions, hundreds of millions of people who are doing this every day. And I think the point is that music has a way to inspire and cut through thought.
It does. And to build an energy. Like it can put, it can put an energy in you, whether it's road trip, fast driving, or it's for me cleaning often. And Ken and I had a fantastic cleaning day on Sunday. Fantastic. I had my little headphones on, cleaning the floor with the rotary buffer. It's like it
Oh,
was
maybe that's your sinus thing. You stirred up all the dust.
we probably, yeah, seriously, yeah, it's but yeah, and then our house is like super clean, and I mean,
Nice.
yeah, it was really good. We really we tag team efforted the whole thing, and it really made a difference. It was really nice.
Yeah, I need to
uh
tag myself and do that here.
I feel like we need to do it again to go next level.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, it's like instead of spring cleaning, we're winter cleaning. But I like that. I don't know. It feels really good. Going through stuff, like this. I mean, this all kind of ties back to what I think we do weekly here. Little things, big things that create more space in life. Whether like going through old things. Do I need this? Do I not need this? And there's like the declutter or the de-dusting and the, just taking a breath and feeling the space around you and making it more of what you want it to be,
Yes.
and doing that little by little, whether it's one thing a day or one thing a week or one thing a month or whatever you can manage, with everything else that goes on in our day-to-day lives. It's nice to, I don't know, chip away, at progress and to see progress and to feel progress. I don't know, but I do feel like I'm feeling that in my life all over. And yeah, even on my project, even, we talked about bringing it into business, even my work project, I feel like I've gone through, I think I've been on the project for 6-ish weeks now. And like I was doing really well. And then I had like sort of that didn't go so well, and then I'm doing really well, and then that didn't go so well. But I do feel like I'm, you start moving through it and making space, and then find your groove and you rock for a while, and then you get knocked out of your groove and you got to figure it out again, right? And I feel like I just settled into groove again. So I like, and I love when that happens because it feels good. It feels like, yeah, this is what I was working toward. Okay, let's go. So yeah, I think this stuff all applies to, it applies in business, it applies in um yeah,
Yeah, and
life.
you don't need that worm in your brain anymore.
I don't,
Apparently, you don't need it. Whatever that worm is doing up there, that little critter running around, don't need it.
yeah,
And
it's
you know it was feeding on stuff.
yeah, we talked a little
Whatever.
bit about this last week, right? Remember I talked about that court case with my dad and how like my mind was so clinched around holding on to like, I needed, I think while it was going on, it was very hard to try, I don't know, to let go or heal. There was no way to heal because the wound just kept getting reopened and reopened and reopened. And once it was gone, it was like I almost didn't know what to do with that space that was now
Mhm.
created. And then I actually had I had another legal case, ridiculous legal case that I was involved in. I was on the board of a company, and the owners decided to sue each other, and it got really ugly. And I was involved in that for like 6 years as well. And so it's like right at the close of my dad's, I had this other one. And then when that one finally closed about 2 or 3 months ago, this other one,
Whoa.
yeah, ongoing for many years. And finally, I'm free. I'm free of all like law, stupid, ridiculous, stupid things.
Yeah,
I'm free of those things.
people arguing through lawyers,
Egos.
basically.
It was 100% egos on this one. And
Yeah.
I just like, it's sad and unfortunate. And I hate that I was even involved in any way, but I was, and now I'm not, and I'm grateful. But it's one of those things though, that even that, it was like, it was another piece of my mind was kind of like holding on to it's like it has reserved for this crap that I have to deal with. And now I
Right.
don't have that. And now I have all of this mental, the like freed up space, right? That now I can focus
Yeah.
on something that's worthwhile and that I actually want to focus on, and invite and welcome more into my life that is good and healthy. And I don't have
Yeah.
those ugly things kind of
Well,
weighting me
maybe,
down.
well, this is the thing. Maybe you needed that worm up there because worms turn compost into crap, right? They reduce it down into crap, and
Yeah,
then then you have the compost, these kind of messy, smelly, stinky chunks, and worms reduce that into basically soil. They turn it into soil, which makes for fertile things. But you don't need a brain filled with soil, right? The soil is all around us. so so now that maybe that worm can go somewhere else, right?
I've
It's
got all the
the
soil
like
I
I love
need, thank you.
no, but I love, yeah, I love this dream. I
Yeah,
love this dream because it's such a great metaphor for this mental freedom that you're talking about.
it
And
is nice. It is
yeah,
nice. And
and you don't even need to figure it out. You just know that there's more, like I can feel it, that there's more room up there, right? Like
yeah,
we can feel it.
that's exactly it. And and I think what you said there, at least that what I heard, is like, it doesn't matter, like I don't need to rush to fill it with something else. Like that happens on its own, like things come on their own. But I can be more mindful about the curation of what I allow in, and what I what I spend time on, mental focus and energy. I get to choose what that is. A couple of those legal things were kind of, I didn't choose those things. They happened. And this is a normal part of life. Like we don't choose everything that happens to us. Sometimes stuff happens and it is not always pleasant, and that's a reality. But how we navigate it and how we work through it. And then when we've worked through it, believing that we can and we will, once we're it's gone, there's so much space left for so much more. And it's such a nice feeling to feel space. I
Yeah.
don't even know how else to, I guess there's nothing else to say about that specifically, but
It makes me think about choice, because we don't necessarily choose those things overtly, consciously. We don't
right.
say that I want, but there is some energetic field that bestows these situations upon us, right? We are resonating through the course of our lives, right? In my family life, my educational life, my vocational life, has me resonating, and I magnetize myself. And so if I'm in this place of, God, I'm always focusing on this, like for me, I can tell you that I have had probably, let's say, four or five people in my life, partners, bosses, who all were some version of my dad.
Yeah.
Right now, did I at the beginning want to choose my dad? And like I want a relationship where my partner is like my dad.
Yes.
He's mean and unhappy, but has some talents, and is a personality,
Yeah.
right?
Interesting.
So so did I choose that overtly? No, not necessarily, but energetically, the landscape was there, because I am used to dealing with people who berate me, right? I have a high tolerance. I have a really high tolerance for it,
Yeah. I feel
right?
like when you grow up in so I'll just call it a stressful environment, you have a very high tolerance for things and maybe like almost seek it out. And my sister and I have had conversations like that too, where even in our own relationships, if there's not enough of the right kind of, I don't know. I don't even want to say stress or friction. I don't know what the right word is, but there's got to be something that keeps it lively, right? It's like there's
Yeah.
like a challenge, maybe. Like if there were no challenge, it would almost be too easy and uninteresting. And I don't know if that's me old thinking or whatever, but like I in assessing, I've always kind of been drawn to a challenge. And and
Yeah, I can
I
see
tend
that.
to like that. Yeah. It's because if there's no challenge, it's boring. And I don't want to be bored.
Yeah. Well, I think the ultimate challenge is the one we're on, which is to be free of the need for any of these things, because all of these things that we're talking about are patterns,
Mhm.
frameworks, habituations, right?
Right. Right.
Right. All of these things of like, oh, I'm working with a guy who has even more fear and self-loathing than my dad, or right, or anger, or right. It's like, when I'm free from that, well, then what is there? I might be agitated, right? Because there's nothing to do. Part of the benefit right now of the way my life is I can create long periods where there's nothing to do. And then I realize and then the things that I do, I'm like, wow, this is really kind of a desperate need of wanting to do, of wanting to create something, or wanting, right? Instead of just being, I think what we get here in this conversation, at least what I get, is that I can be and enjoy just the being. I don't have an agenda. I don't have an agenda that, I mean, I can feel it. I can feel certain things creep in, like, oh, I want to do this, or I got to do this, or I'm trying to think of this.
Yep.
But for the most part, I'm here,
Yeah. Yep.
right? In this energetic exchange. And that is better than any contrived problem solving. that is better. Now, the problem solving can include being totally present
Yeah.
and working with a bunch of people. But this is the kind of the ultimate place. And we've talked about, I mean, the ultimate places are like we've talked about these moments of I am nature, right? Where all constraints disappear and I am
Yeah.
just a part of nature. And there really isn't any train of thought creeping in. There isn't any imperative to do or be something different than what is I'm experiencing in that moment. And so we're constantly I am constantly battling between being and doing.
Right. Right.
And the doing being motivated out of thinking versus an energetic attraction, right? The magnetism doesn't include think doesn't require thinking.
Right. Just
Like
being and feeling,
why am I
right?
here? It felt good. Right? Why, you know,
Well, and that too, right? Like in that existence of like the being, the presence of being, when you're able to get in that, find that space, like with me letting go of those legal things that I had, my bird claw hanging on to. Once you can let go and you do, and you find yourself in this space and you're able to say, now what's possible. I think that's what's exciting. It's exciting to be like, okay, like I have let go. Like officially, I think I feel like I have let go, and now there's space. And now, what's possible with this space? What's possible? I don't have to decide. I mean, I could fill it with things, but I can also just let it be
be
open, let
be
it
in
be
this
space.
be in the space,
Yeah.
because in that, the bigger the space, the more things there are to see,
Yeah.
right? the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
landscape opens up.
And that's, it's going back to some of the things that you were saying a week or two ago about like, the standing on the mountaintop. We're in a different perspective now. And like you get a different vantage point. And I love that sort of visualization of, like we've been going through the forest and the trees, and now we're at the top. And like, now look at everything that is, it's so vast. There's no end. It's vast. And just feel that vastness. Like that's where I feel like I'm in this place of just feeling the vastness right now. And
Hmm.
maybe I don't even comprehend how vast is, and that's okay. I'm all right with that.
Well, we know we know that no matter how vast we think something is, there's always more.
Yeah. you know,
There's
it's
more.
like
There's
there's
more vastness. There's more vastness to be had.
more vastness. And I was just saying to someone yesterday in a conversation about like self-improvement, but there's always better to become. It doesn't matter where you're at, there's always a way to improve, or there's more, there's always better to become. It doesn't matter what it is or how great you are at it, or how great you think you are at it. There's always more um
Yes.
that can be learned, understood, listened to, communicated. I don't know. Yeah, more. There's always a better to become. And yeah, I feel like understanding that also takes some humility as well, and like some self-examination. And yeah, I don't know. I've been revisiting that a fair amount lately too. My own humility, trying to be like, Just feel, just be, observe, listen more. Listen more is a big one for me. I need to listen more. But yeah, I want to listen more.
Ah, somehow we're so close to that moment in the dream this morning. Just about perception. There was just one word, and it was so clear. Uh, and I, I can't find it. I'm not finding it at the moment.
You know, it's so
It's
funny. It
it,
reminds me. Oh, go ahead.
it
Sorry.
oh, it's just about clarity and oh, what what if what if it is something about truth? Truth. That's
That's
it.
that's the word.
That's it. This is where we're headed in this conversation, is this kind of clarity. And when we are fully present and in a space where we aren't concerned with everything around us, that it's a moment of truth. And we have access to everything. We have access. There's no judgment anymore. We just know. So these things that we were talking about this morning, about magnetism, about broadcasting, all of those things bypass linear thinking, right? Like if we're in a room and we see someone that is energetically super attractive, we might not come up with any kind of sentence, or we might not even know why we wandered over to them. It's just an energy thing, but it's because we are just present and allowing the information to come in, right? We're open, we're receiving. And this dream, in this moment of the dream, it was like, if we are present and if we are in the moment, there is truth that doesn't require thinking. It doesn't require thinking, and we have access to the truth. And this is like truth with a capital T. We have access to the truth, and we don't need to judge it. We don't need to figure it out. It's the same with the worm. The worm is out of your brain and it's gone. That's the truth. Now, do we know who the worm is or what all of the worm's business was or any of that? No, but there, and beyond the story and beyond the metaphor of the worm, there is a truth to your experience that goes beyond all judgment, all description, all linear material thinking. It's just that now there is more. Do we know what more is? No, not necessarily. I don't know what more is, but there is truth in the moment, and the only place to access truth is in the moment. Everything else is thinking, judging, projecting into the future, relying on our past experience to hedge our bet in the moment. But in the moment, we have access to the truth. Even though we might not understand the truth, and that truth is something that you can't necessarily think about, but there is the energy that we have here this morning, and the all of the things that we are attracting because of what we are broadcasting, or this magnetism that we have, right, that we carry with us every day. And the more energy we have and the more joy, the stronger our magnet is, or the stronger our radio broadcast is. But the only place we have access to all of this, all that's available to us, is in the moment. And moment that moment contains the truth of everything. Now, that's all very esoteric, maybe, but this morning, that was so clear to me. There was no, I just was there, and I just stayed in it for a half an hour, drifting in and out and trying to bring it with me into this. And the moment you talked about dreams, I was so excited. I was so excited that I lost my connection. I lost the connection to that content.
Interesting. Yeah.
Right. And so it took our whole conversation here, and then allowing this kind of like this pregnant pause where I could try to dig back there and feel what the one word was. But it is truth, and it's an absolute truth. It doesn't require any further analysis, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting. As you talk through it, I'm like, wow, this is like bigger than where my brain is at. Like, that's how I'm like, like, I'm like, whoa, my brain hasn't gotten there yet. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. I am like, wow.
Well, mine hasn't either until now, right? Like because whatever we've been broadcasting, and I can feel it, right? I could feel it yesterday. Yesterday was Wednesday, and I had a lot of energy yesterday, and I had I had lunch with somebody I haven't seen in a long time, who's also very spiritually aware, and he works in architecture and business, and he's worked all over the world, and he's had his own. Actually, you would enjoy this person because he has also owned his own agency and worked with all kinds of clients all over the world. And now he's still got his own agency, and he's working with one of his former business partners. But our conversation was really a positive, fun, and it was we're just reconnecting for a moment. But I could feel the energy building in the day and throughout the week, and my own clarity. And last night, even, I had more clarity about, I just went to bed a little earlier. I took care of myself a little. It was just a little more thoughtful about sleep. And then even if I wake up super early, and I can already feel my adrenals firing up and my liver firing up, I try to stay and just relax and stay in bed and kind of enjoy it. And this morning I woke up, and there was this rock climbing dream it's getting vaguer, more vaguer. Is that a word?
It's all right.
My apologies to all the English majors. It's getting more vague by the moment, but my understanding of when you are in the moment and when you are fully aware when I am in the moment, when I am fully aware, and that's all I'm focused on is awareness, not thinking, then I have access to the absolute truth of everything. And so it's very abstract. And then it counts on the word truth having a much bigger meaning than the one that we usually fight over.
That's,
But it,
yeah. I
right,
love that
like,
you said that, because that's where I think there's a default, maybe, maybe not, with the word. The
yeah.
word truth can be loaded, right? In
Well, we see it all the time, right? Now that there's this insurance, one of the insurance companies, there's always the insurance companies are competing over who can do the goofiest commercials. And now one of the insurance companies has couples arguing over who left the door open and why is there a new cat in the house. And then they go, well, let's watch it on the instant replay. And so the truth, in the normal
see,
way of thinking, right? The
yeah,
truth is about some material reality, some fact
yeah.
in material reality. But when I'm this truth that I'm talking about, it supersedes, it's beyond all of that kind of material, like you did this, I did that, or this 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 piece of paper is blue. Well, that's not the this piece of paper is true is not the truth in the way I am
In
discussing
the
it,
Yeah, in
because
the
the truth is blue is just a concept that we happen to agree upon.
right.
Blue is not that paper, the nature of that piece of paper or that
I
sticky
think
note,
that's
or
exactly
right.
it, right? It's a construct that we've created to wrap our minds around something,
Yeah.
and truth in actuality is more about being nature, about I am nature. It's more about
Yes,
existing without all of that.
because this wool felt coaster, this orange wool felt coaster is is the truth that this is an orange wool felt coaster, or is is it just something we agree to call wool, we agree to call orange, we agree to call a coaster because that just makes it easy for us to all navigate in the
It,
material world together, but it's not the truth of what this is. It's not the truth.
this
The
is all
truth,
like the matrix right here. Like,
right,
I mean,
right. This
everything
is
is binary code, like, but what you
right.
yeah,
This
I feel like
this
this
is
is the matrix.
right. Yeah, this is the so when I say the truth, it is the truth with a capital T. It is the now we our minds, like we're at this moment where our minds may not, like we aren't expanded enough to comprehend the implications, and we don't maybe we don't necessarily need to comprehend the implications, but we need to be open to the idea of the big word truth with a T. And I've heard the word truth used in spiritual conversation, but I've never had a direct experience of understanding it in the sense that we're talking about it now. And it was only because I felt it in the dream this morning. I felt it in that the interstitial between dream and being awake. And I held on to it long enough to get to talking about it with you so that I could articulate it in the manner, the best manner I can at the moment. But this is this is as big as I can think about
That's
spiritual, right? It's as big as I can think about this, what the ultimate spiritual moment or awareness is. Like when we are fully present, we have access to the truth. And so that's, we can call it the matrix, we can call it, but in all of that, we have knowledge of everything, right? We have access to everything, past, present, future, an understanding of what this is or what this isn't, or, and uh, when I say this, I mean this flesh and blood, as um, William Gibson says, meat space,
hmm yeah.
right? So all of this in meat space, the truth of meat space is revealed. Thank you, thank you, William Gibson.
Yeah, no, I think when you said this is like as big as my mind, my brain can, yeah, we maxed my brain out. We maxed my brain out there for it needs processing time now.
I know, and and I think all of the anticipation for the joy of this expansive moment has been building all week. Like I've been looking forward to it, and I've also been clearing things out of my mind. Like, I don't need to do that. I don't need to concern myself with this, even the smallest things. I just, I don't need to be witty or erudite. I just need to be kind to myself. I can be compact, kind. I don't need to go beyond and try to entertain people. Right? It's the all of this is, and so that's been creating room for this larger uh, space in which to think. And then so there, we both had these dream moments
Yeah.
that informed us of that there's more in the matrix, or there is the matrix.
I like your phrasing of that. Like I do feel like the dream informed me I can let go now and that more is possible. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's space there now. That entire dinosaur creature that was in there is out and there's it's so
Well,
weird.
I
Yeah.
just love how beautiful, I just love how beautifully your mind constructed that dream, right? Because I mean, worms are super important.
Yeah.
And then, but that a fact that it morphed into the dinosaur is
Or
that
whatever it was.
dinosaurs, well, yeah, dinosaurs are dead, dude, right?
Yeah.
Dinosaurs aren't part of the situation anymore. Yet
It was like an
this,
alien dinosaur and it was
yeah,
made of worm texture, but it was multicolored like green and blue. And it was also friendly. Like it wasn't aggressive or, it seemed scared and it was trying to get out of the room, but it
yeah,
was not, it was like, where the heck am I now? And so it's interesting how much detail there was in that as well, like what I recall at least. But, it's like, what a strange and interesting way I think our minds let us know it's okay to move forward or move on or like to like okay, like here's a visual manifestation of like progress in a way, and like you're not getting it when you're awake, so let me just like hit you over the head with it a little bit so maybe you could understand there's
yeah.
space now. Like here's a really easy for you, Jamie, to wrap your little mind around.
Well, it's not, but the thing is it's not easy to wrap your mind around. I mean,
It
I mean, if somebody else had that dream and remembered it, it might frighten them.
I think that's one thing that I loved about the dream too. Like even though I try to preface it like, this is gross that I'm pulling a worm out of my head, but there was not, like, in my dream, there was not a lot of gore. Like you might see in a movie, if somebody was pulling, pieces of your skull would be falling out, and there was a little blood, but that's it. It was like just a little bit of blood, but my head stayed intact despite these large chunks that were coming out, right? Like, I mean,
Mhm.
I actually really appreciate, like, after the fact, I really appreciated that it wasn't as weird as it was, as it's kind of like, to describe aloud, it sounds pretty gory, but it really wasn't in being in it. It was just like
Yeah.
I could feel it. I could feel it coming out. I was like, whoa, did you see that? Oh, am I concerned right now? Should I keep going? And I did keep going. And yeah, I
The
was so
art,
afraid that if I let go, it would go back in.
yeah, the art direction was very thoughtful.
I love, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Inside Out, the animated Pixar movie.
Uh, not that I remember. No.
It's really good. It's really good, but there's a dream sequence in there, and it's like a
Oh, I
production.
do. I did. Yes, I do. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
a great,
That is a wonderful film
yeah,
and
it
a
really
beautiful
is.
metaphor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I love
Yep.
that whole dream thing, because that's how dreams are often. Your mind is like, okay, go, cue the clown or whatever. It's just like, yeah,
Yeah, but it is art direction, right? And
it is.
it is yeah. Well, yeah, I don't I just I I think I am at the limit of this, where my mind can go. I know that I am operating at another level right now. My level of clarity is very high, and my level of freedom, my material level of freedom continues, but I am appreciating it more and more, and I'm taking advantage of it more and more. And I'm also reaching out and bringing, I feel like now I can reach out and bring people in without worry of what they think.
Yeah,
Right? It's
it
just like
doesn't matter.
yesterday's lunch happened because I I joyfully take myself to the coffee shop to hang out with my geezer cohort. And then one day when I was in there, I see my friend James walk through there, and I go, "Oh, I got to get up and say hi. I haven't seen him in forever." And then before I could get up, he just slipped out the back.
Oh,
And so immediately I texted him. I said, "Dude, I just saw you at the coffee shop. What are you doing there? Like, are you working down?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm two days a week or 3 days a week. I'm down at this architecture office.
nice.
So let's have lunch." And so it was just super fast. It was very easy. And so now his business partner from his former agency and they have a new agency, and also he's working for this big architecture firm. Um, those guys are going to come over. Now I'm going to just have those guys over Sunday night, right? And I'm going to keep the juice going. I'm going to keep it going.
I love it.
But
I love it.
I want to hang on to this about uh, the truth being available in the moment. The truth, capital T, being available when we are truly in the moment and free, and everything is revealed ultimately.
Oh, I love it. I think that's a perfect way to, yeah, to close out today. Like, because I'm feeling too, like, I'm like, okay, my brain has a lot to work with this week. And I love that. I think that's what I love about this. It's like a full hearty meal that my brain has just had, and it's like, okay, no more.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
love it
this
at the
is
same time.
spiritual. This is spiritual pumping iron.
Right? Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I have been going back to the gym again after many, 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 maybe even a full year of dormancy and kind of not taking care in that way. It feels really good to go back and move my body again. So
Hmm.
yeah, so I've got one more day this week on my goal. Last week was 3 days. My goal this week was 4 days. And so I would like to maintain at least 4 days. But yeah, yeah,
It feels good to be strong. Like
yeah, it
I
does.
like lifting heavy weights.
Yeah.
Really, I love it. And for especially for geezers, uh, those of us in our 60s and beyond, lifting heavy weights, really heavy weights, not a lot of reps,
Yeah.
is the best way to take care of bones and connective tissue.
Well, that's, I know, even for women, 40 and over, muscle gain is actually so much better for us than cardio. Or, I mean, we can do
Yes, yeah.
cardio too, but like it's just so important to build some muscle mass after 40 for helping, strengthen your bones and preventing a lot of back problems and bone and joint problems.
Yeah. Because, and the thing that I will add, which is something that I learned visiting with a neurologist from the University of Washington as part of a field trip I did with my mom. And the neurologist called me because it was the neurologist doing some diagnoses for my mom and pulling me into the consult and saying, I want you to be a witness here of this knowledge for your mom, my mom is in her mid 80s. And she showed me a whole slide deck of research. And one of the things about muscle mass that we don't realize is that the little mitochondria, the little energy cells in our muscles, actually generate a factor that promotes neuroplasticity,
Interesting. I didn't know
keeps
that.
you sharp,
Mm.
aware, helps maintain the health of our neurological system.
It makes sense,
And
right?
right, well, and I think if we think of cave people who rely on their physical being for survival, and the more if you are somebody who is doing a lot of muscular activity, running down animals, hunting, um, being a nomad, whatever it is, whatever requires a lot of muscle, building things, that the muscles create a factor that keeps you sharp so that you don't fall off the roof of your home, so that
Yeah.
you when the tiger doesn't quite die with the first spear, that you are alert and quick enough, and that your neurological system uh, is fully functioning. So she's like, lifting weights actually promotes neuroplasticity. It helps reduce the incidence of headaches, migraines,
Yeah.
there's all of these benefits, because our body is like, dude, I've got work to do. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Right? Because the
Yeah.
brain is in control of all this. And so when the muscles are super active, they're reminding the brain that the brain needs to be, they're keeping the whole system strong. And so that's one of the things that she showed me in her research, because she was trying to get my mom to lift,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
right?
There's
Right.
there's a
To,
woman in my class. She's I think she said she was 67. She's
oops.
100 pounds of pure muscle. I mean, she's just amazing. You gotta go.
It's a, this is a fire alarm test.
Nice. Get on out of there.
Apparently, in 5 minutes, I will need to vacate. So,
Perfect timing, right?
perfect
Perfect
timing.
timing.
So we have learned about the truth, and we have learned about mitochondria and weightlifting.
And the significance of dreams.
Yep, and the significance of dreams, or or just that dreams are just another opening to the matrix, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Stefan, thank you so much for doing this with me every week. I'm excited already for next week.
I agree. Thank you for this generous moment in your life, sharing this moment in your life with me. And I look forward to next week as well when we resume
All right, unconstrained.
Unconstrained. Yo, cheers. Cheers.
Bye.